Living in the Past is a Turtle, Mysteries of Azeroth, and Everlook Broadcasting production. This is Living in the Past, your Everlook Broadcasting Company weekly show about all things Turtle Mysteries of Azeroth. Today is Friday, January 19th, 2024, and I'm Dan, your host for the next hour. Happy Friday once again, everyone. Either it's the end of your work week, or maybe your work week's just getting started. You want to welcome back all of the staff. They had a short break, but they're back at it now. It's wonderful to have everyone back in the virtual office. We'll say that. Also, best wishes to Jamie. Not feeling the best, but everyone should know Jamie, aka Bowser. Best wishes to him. Hopefully he feels better soon. With that being said, we have so much to talk about today, so let's get right into it. For our first segment, we're going to be talking about Trivia Night here shortly. It happened earlier this week. We'll also be talking about just some theoretical class change stuff. And I'll preface that by saying I'm not in on the class council in any way. I am not on that Discord. What I know is what Akalix and Vrograg have shared with me. And that's it. That's all I know. So I'm just going to have a little fun today and share some thoughts and ideas for what we might be able to do, or what I might be able to suggest when it comes to class changes. And then to close out our first segment and open up our music breaks as a whole, we're going to be talking about what our music themes are going to be for the next few weeks. I've actually done a little bit more planning this time, and we're going to have a few different weeks of meme songs, or songs that maybe got extra life in them, or got a resurgence because they were suddenly meme-tastical. Or they were obsessed about by a group of people. Maybe they weren't actually official songs too, but we'll get into that here later on when I introduce the theme for this week. So we will get into that. But to start off here, first off, the trivia night that we had on Tuesday was fantastic. We had a few participants, and we had a lot of people listening into it, which felt wonderful. People were starting to ask some questions there. World chat was getting a little interested in what was going on, but obviously we had all of the activity focused in the Trivia Night channel. A couple people hopping in there who hadn't hopped in there for the first one. It was really nice. So a quick congratulations, and hopefully these winners have already received their prizes. We did do a prize for turtle tokens for the top 3 trivia participants. So Vastlad with first, getting first place, Frisky Guard getting second place, and Taurus getting third place. Congratulations, everyone. Even if you were just lurking or asking a question or two or attempting to answer questions, everyone who came out for that, thank you so much. It was a ton of fun. We're going to be doing it again February 20th at 3 p.m. February 20th at 3 p.m. Eastern. I believe that's going to be 8 p.m. over in London time there. So keep that in mind. I don't know if Akalix has posted up the event yet on the official Turtle Discord, but there will be an event going up to remind everyone that about a month from today, we're going to be having our next trivia night, and there will be more turtle coins up for grabs with that. So be ready. I'm going to give you the category. In fact, I already gave the category, but I'm going to remind people regularly here on Living in the Past about that. It's going to be Warcraft 1 trivia. We are specifically going to focus on Warcraft 1. Now, the reason we're going to do that is because our winner, Vastlad, specifically said during our trivia night that, wow, that would have been completely different if the trivia had been about Warcraft 1. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, don't mind if I do. Because there was definitely a distinct struggle with a lot of folks for the few Warcraft 1 related questions I asked on Trivia Night. So this is your chance to prepare. It's going to be a really good idea for you to A, play through Warcraft 1, and B, review the manual. There's actually like a lot of good lore in the Warcraft 1 manual. Some of it did get dumped, some of it isn't used anymore, but it's still going to be a good idea to review it. Because even if that lore got retconned in a later Warcraft expansion, I'm still probably going to refer to it at least. So review that stuff. Be ready to go. There's going to be more turtle coins on the line coming up February 20th at 3 p.m. Now, if you do want to participate the night of Trivia Night, or you even just want to listen in, not only is it going to be a good idea to listen to the radio, but also make sure you're in the Trivia Night channel. Anyone can join it. It's open. You're able to hop in whenever. But I'm only going to be taking questions and responses in the Trivia Night channel. I did see a couple folks trying to respond in World Chat on Tuesday. And I kept trying to remind people, hey, I'm only taking responses in the Trivia Night channel. I don't mind if people listen in at all, of course. I want as many people to listen in as possible, but I don't want to clutter up World Chat, or I don't want to have to try to find answers in World Chat while people are complaining about, oh, this class shouldn't be tanks, oh, this class should only be healers. Because that's a lot of what was going on Tuesday, and I really don't want to peel through all that stuff and try to find answers and also host the show. Sorry, not really sorry, to be honest. We did also have a fun moment, though, where someone did pop up in World Chat while I was asking a question, and I had to stop myself and respond to them because they were looking for a hammersmith. And I'm like, wait, I gotcha. And then I immediately didn't have them because they asked for the one hammer I don't have the plans for, which is the ebon hand. I haven't done my my rep grind for Dark Irons on my goblin yet. So unfortunately, I could not help them. Sad times. Now then, let's go ahead and talk about class changes, because I just wanted to throw out a few ideas. I will again state, A, I'm not on the class change council. I have no actual input here. I'm throwing out ideas because A, I do want to contribute in my own way, and B, I think it's fun to speculate about this kind of stuff. Last we heard from Acalix last week, they were talking about weapon skill changes. Now, I'll fully admit, I don't feel like I have a lot of great ideas when it comes to how to replace the simple, okay, this race has extra weapon skill with X or Y. My experience with weapon skill is strictly, I have a goblin, and I know hammer main hand, dagger offhand. And let me tell you, by the way, Fell Striker still feels really good. Obviously, any warrior is going to want Fell Striker as a fury, but as a goblin warrior in particular, we ran Karazhan last weekend, and I think it was one of the DPS that commented out just completely out of the blue, "Oh, you have Fell Striker, that's what's going on." And I'm like, "What?" Because that's how they opened that part of the conversation. That's how they started that conversation with me. And then we talked a little bit about weapon skill and how important it is to obey your weapon skill if you're a class that can take advantage of a racial weapon skill. The question then, though, becomes, how do you make it more thematic in the world? How do you turn it from, hey, this is kind of the style that Vanilla was going for, to something that fits in with Turtle's version of Vanilla Plus? Because to say we're playing on Vanilla, I think, is disingenuous. We're playing Vanilla Plus on Turtle. their version of a Vanilla Plus experience. It's not vanilla. It's not base World of Warcraft. And I think that's kind of the best mindset to be in when talking about something like weapon skill. And obviously, changing how weapon skill actually affects a character, that I don't think is an appropriate option. That's changing the base game. Not a class, not a race, or how their features add to the game, but you're changing the base game itself, which I think is just a horrible idea overall. You want to be changing, adjusting the classes and races, not the base game itself, not the base mathematics of it. So the question should be strictly framed in a concept of how does a class, or how should a class or race have some kind of weapon skill bonus to them. And right now it's the +5 weapon skill. So goblins have +5 weapon skill to one-handed hammers and daggers. Humans, swords and maces. Orcs, you get axes. You obey your weapon skill, if you have that. But the fact of the matter is that if you are a class, let's say you're a Fury Warrior, that doesn't have a weapon skill, you are at an innate disadvantage when it comes to the top tier of content. And honestly, if you're leveling a warrior as Fury, you're at a disadvantage the entire time. Because that +5 weapon skill makes a huge difference. Like it's much more effective to level as Fury, as a human or a goblin, than arms because of that weapon skill. It just goes faster. So, how do you take that +5 weapon skill that we've had forever and convert it into something that fits the more turtle-like theme? That's probably one of the hardest questions to answer, and my assumption is the class council is probably still deliberating it. I know I would be. This is actually the question that kind of spurred on this whole conversation from last week, because I kind of stumped myself thinking about how do you effectively update this for Turtle. And I know I've repeated myself multiple times with that, but this is part of me thinking about how to do it. Do you change it like other private servers have done to crit or stun chance, or I think a couple servers have done hit? That stuff it's not already in the game per se, but especially if you're a warrior and you go into the arms tree, you have some of those features already. And while I'm very open to any changes that might happen, the only change I don't want to see happen with weapon skill is it just being removed. Like, all of the races that have additional weapon skill, just seeing it removed entirely and nothing put in its place, or no kind of balancing factor put in, that would cause me to be frustrated. That would upset me, to be honest. And I think it would upset a lot of people. There's a non-zero number of raiders that rely on that weapon skill. So I think that's really important to keep in mind. So we're kind of back to square one of how do we actually change it? And I think the best direction to go is to look at how Turtle has updated and added to the vanilla experience without going over the top. So let's say, Swords gets an extra, chance to hit, or an extra chance to, swing again. Think Sword Spec from Arms, or Hodge from Blackrock Depths. I think that would be too much. I think that would be far too much. Because suddenly you start getting an innate Wind Fury effect for warriors in particular. And I know I'm using warriors kind of strictly as my example, but it's how I think. It's how my brain thinks. And it's like the class I play. So this is just in that frame of reference. Something like that would cause a localized Wind Fury effect, where the sword spec would proc off of the racial sword skill in some way, and vice versa. And if you add Wind Fury into the mix, suddenly each are proccing off Wind Fury and vice versa for each other. And you get a lot more mathematical issues when it comes to scaling. So I think taking things that are already in the talent trees is naturally a bad idea. And that probably being the best example of it. Good ideas then. Let's look at what Turtle has added. Because we want class and racial flavor, not overpowering. So instead of swords being another additional chance to swing again, let's say it's adding some haste due to how aerodynamic swords are, how well balanced swords are. Let's say, humans get a small haste percentage buff when it comes to swords. Let's say orcs get natural armor piercing when it comes to axes, or actually extra I don't know, like vampirism for bloodlust when it comes to axes. Something like that. I think crit actually might be good for Tauren and Night Elves when it comes to not crit, but armor piercing when it comes to Night Elves and Tauren for spears. They're both known to be well trained in both. I think that's the kind of thing we should lean into. Maybe a haste buff for dwarves when it comes to rifles. They're probably the experts when it comes to gunpowder and manufacturing. They would know best. So they would know how to have better mechanisms, cleaner powder, that kind of thing. Weapon skill should be based in the traditions and histories of these races, while also having some decent effect on gameplay. And sure, +5 axe skill for orcs is relatively overpowered when it comes to racial skills in general. Like, Tauren simply don't have something that improves their DPS in that way. They have extra health and War Stomp, but when it comes to benefits in combat, there's not a lot that they're contributing otherwise. Let's look at Shadow Priest now, because I've been talking a lot about warrior and weapon skill. Let's shift gears and talk about Shadow Priest, another class that I have played a lot of. For those that don't know, before I started raiding on my warrior, my goblin, I played a Night Elf Priest on Turtle here for a while. When it comes to where Shadow Priests are right now, their damage is good. The damage is okay. You're not going to be topping the meters unless you're Shadow Word Pain spamming, in which case you're going to be in about 5 seconds. But your damage is going to be literally off the chart. One of my favorite things I did, by the way, in my Shadow Priest was during lab packs. After our Paladin grabbed threat on them, I would just stand over with that group and Shadow Word Painting all of them. By the time the rest of the raid was getting done with the Warlocks and switching over to where the melee and range split off, all of the engineers were half dead already. It was so fun to watch. And of course, I topped the meters on that. Anywho, though, let's talk about the actual issue at hand. And this is going to sound ridiculous compared to what I just said, but Shadow Priests need an AoE option that does not tank their mana. And maybe this isn't just okay, we need Mindseer back. For those that don't know, Mindseer was an an AoE ability that Shadow Priest got, I believe in Wrath. It might have been TBC, but I think it was Wrath. And it was just like Mind Flay, where they target someone and they Mind Flayed it, but instead of just targeting that one person, it would radiate damage around that target. That's too powerful for Turtle, in my opinion. That's simply too much. So instead, what I would love to see, and this is something I actually thought about a lot the other day, where I wanted to really check myself to see if that balance was there. But I would love to see a special, like, unique shadow spec only interaction between Pain Spike and Shadow Word Pain. Because I think Shadow Word Pain is the most useful tool for Shadow Priests. But I want to see more interaction with other abilities. Because that's kind of where Shadow Priests have their bread and butter, is their interaction between different abilities, where you have your vampirism buff, or debuff rather, where if you're timing things correctly, you're getting a lot of healing and mana out to your group, you're doing a lot of support and damage at the same time. A lot of what you do as a Shadow Priest is about doing damage and supporting your group at the same time. So, what I would want to see, change-wise for Shadow Priests, specifically, is an add to Shadow form, where if you're in Shadow form, your Pain Spike has an additional effect, where if you hit a target with Shadow Word Pain, and then you instantly hit it with Pain Spike, that Shadow Word Pain will jump to like 5 other targets around it. 5 isn't the specific number it needs to be, but that's kind of the idea. It doesn't jump to every target around it, but it jumps to like 5 targets or 6 targets around that initial Shadow Word Pain target. This would have the added effect of increasing the cooldown of Pain Spike by, let's say, 10 seconds. It has an innate 10-second cooldown. If that effect is used, increase it to 20 seconds, because this is powerful. But it saves you the time and the mana of having to Shadow Word Pain all these other targets around your initial target. If used correctly, this is a way where Shadow Priest can instantly get some extra area damage done out without tanking their mana and without being given a Unitasker ability. For anyone who's fans of Alton Brown, Unitaskers are bad. Other thoughts here real quick, because I need to wrap this segment up here. But for Warriors, I already talked about them. I had in my notes, hey, talk about Warriors, ask if we need anything else. We do need some other things, but we need flavor. We don't need more power. Warriors are powerful enough damage-wise. Warriors are fantastic. Tanking-wise, maybe there's some things that could be done. But damage-wise, hey, we're good. Listen, we're good. But flavor. And I actually had a good conversation with Rograg last weekend on his Fish and Chat about this. There's some really good ideas out there when it comes to adding some flavor to each race's warriors. There's some really fun ideas we talked about there. Shamans. My only thought for shamans, because honestly, I like where shamans are right now on Turtle. I do think that there are places for shamans to grow, specifically in sustain and stability for both elemental and enhancement. Elemental's damage is stellar, but it is a mana hog. And honestly, a little bit of mana restoration in some way, or some kind of balancing there, would be really, really helpful. And then for enhancement, damage, still inconsistent. It does really well sometimes. Other times, does really poorly. And it's usually a roll of the dice. However, I think there are definitely ways to make enhancement a little more stable. There's definitely a lot of proc, a lot of hit chance going on there. And or I shouldn't say hit chance, but chance on hit. There we go. There's some chance on hit stuff going on there, and it could definitely use some balancing. Also, and this is the big question I ask about shamans, why is their hit talent still in the resto tree? That, more than anything else, I think should be changed. Keeping the hit talent in the resto tree doesn't make any sense. And while I'm loath to suggest sweeping changes from the vanilla talents, I think that's one of them. Anywho, we need to get to our break. We're going to be going into break 1 at about the half-hour mark. This show might be a long one, or I might just have to cut the other segments down. Our breaks for today and for the following weeks, as I mentioned, will be following a unique theme and something I've wanted to start here since I began this broadcast. That theme, and we'll outline the rules and specific sets here in a moment, is music in the key of meme. I've gathered about 3 weeks worth of music for this broadcast and organized it all so each week has a specific theme, which I'm either excited to share or, in the case of a few of these, moderately concerned to release back into the wild. While a few of these are one-hit wonders, the idea that all one-hit wonders are just meme hits, I think is misplaced. The fact is, some of these tracks throughout the next few weeks didn't even perform well enough to be classified as one-hit wonders. Either that, or the band wasn't a one-hit wonder group and had other songs that performed well. In addition, some of these songs were never even officially released by any band and just put up on the internet for the hell of it. As long as each of these songs either became popular due to them becoming or being a part of a meme, or received new or renewed popularity due to the internet or a group becoming obsessed with it, it counts, and we'll be playing it here over the next few weeks. To start off, we're opening things up with the category of meme songs you probably remember. This is to kind of get us started off on a gentle, easy footing. Our second song of our first break here is one of the more recent pop songs to see renewed internet fame, Uptown Funk by Mark Ronson featuring Bruno Mars. It saw a resurgence in popularity years after its release due to live streamers using clips of it. After Uptown Funk, we've got OK Go's Here We Go Again, their very first song as a group, which gained absolutely massive popularity due to the music video of the song being posted to YouTube, which featured the band singing their song while performing choreography over a set of 8 treadmills. Our first song, however, needs only the introduction that helped define its meme status. So anyway, here's Wonderwall. The musical tracks for this episode have been removed due to YouTube copyright. To listen to the full episodes with music, tune in to Everlook Broadcasting every Friday with the in-game radio widget. Welcome back to Living in the Past. I'm Dan. It's good to have you here today. Abbreviated second segment because, oh boy, that first segment went a half hour plus. And I do want to actually fit a few things in the third segment of the show here today. So let us get right back into it here. For the second segment, I just wanted to go into a little more detail on music in the key of memes, and specifically the categories to come here, and the possibility of a one-hit wonder kind of show. Because as I mentioned in the previous segment, I think the category of one-hit wonders and meme songs slightly overlap. But there's some that are definitely more in the one-hit wonder category than memes or things that the internet revived in some way. A lot of these are going to be one-hit wonders from the 80s and 90s. I think one of the best examples I can give is the original Hey, What's Going On by Four Non-Blondes. That's probably the best example I could give. A future episode where You know, I'm not gonna say it just yet because I want to explain the categories here before I'm like, well, it is. I do reference it in a future song, but is this and then I'm just gonna hold off here. There were songs I could not include in these 3 Music in the Key of Memes episodes. I tried to find, and I'm so sad I couldn't find it, the original Noise Marine trap remix. And I could not find it. There are other versions of it posted up on YouTube and the internet in general. None of them are the original Noise Marine remix. For those that don't know, the Noise Marine from Warhammer 40k is a Slaneshi unit. Things will get loud now. Very, very entertaining remix. I could not find it. I was so sad for that because actually it was a really good remix. There were a few other tracks that I just like. I don't know if I can fit into one of these. We Didn't Start the Fire and the cover, or I would say the remake of We Didn't Start the Fire. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit those in to one of these episodes. But they are, like, We Didn't Start the Fire is this beautiful reference, this just like canister of references from certain time periods. So the Fall Out Boy version is from, you know, the mid-90s to today. And the original was like the 50s, 60s, and 70s. It's these beautiful time capsules, and honestly, songs that keep... Well, the original kept getting revived because of how pertinent it is. And then, of course, with the 2023 remake by Fall Out Boy, completely revived. And sung at karaoke bars everywhere. I don't know if I can fit those in to one of these shows, though, because it wouldn't fit into next week's episode, which is songs you may not have heard or probably don't remember. And then the third week are songs that you really wish or may wish you didn't remember. And that's the one I'm like, oh, we're definitely going into cringe territory, and I'm dragging all of you with me. Songs like that are going to be Rasputin, the Hey What's Going On, He-Man remix, things like that. I shouldn't say you may not want to remember, because there's some really good stuff in there. Probably half of next week is going to be music from the other side of the planet, for me at least. So obviously here in Boston, we're going to be paying tribute to the AU section of the world. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to actually fit that in, because it doesn't necessarily fit with the theme I'm aiming for. So I have Gangnam Style on there for that. Land Down Under, which actually, no, that fits really well. Land Down Under fits really well with that. I'm starting to drift. I'm drifting here, and I need to not, because again, time is short, mortal. But that's kind of the idea. So next week is going to be songs you may not have heard, which again, I need to finish the set list for that. And then last week is going to be more of the cringe territory of internet memes and meme music. And it's gonna be a little painful, but we're gonna take the journey together, and it's going to be fun, quote unquote. We'll see about that. But we do need to get to our second break here of the show. Again, because I let my first segment go over a half hour. For our second break in the category of meme tracks you probably know, We're getting into a little more specific, a bit more focused, if you will, in an effort to help define what turns a track into a meme instead of it simply being popular or enjoyable. With that in mind, we are playing World of Warcraft right now. All of us, we are in World of Warcraft. Hello. Shocker. I know. Surprise. And there's one song that all Naxxramas Raiders out there are going to recognize either with joy or the utmost concern. We open here, our second break, with the safety dance, having reached meme status for being associated with the Hagen encounter and needing to dance your way through it while also needing to heal or DPS. After we down that boss and collect our loot, we're heading down to Fenway for a local Boston tradition, Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond, as we're literally the only crowd on the planet that'll stand up and shout during the chorus still to this day. Lastly, for our second break of the broadcast, a bit of an older meme track in Video Killed the Radio Star, Notorious. Is Notorious the right word? We're going to go with it. Notorious for being the first song to ever play on MTV and a portent for the network's slow downfall away from music videos as YouTube, Pandora, and Spotify ramped up in the 2000s. We close out Living in the Past after this break, right after this. The musical tracks for this episode have been removed due to YouTube copyright. To listen to the full episodes with music, tune in to Everlook Broadcasting every Friday with the in-game radio widget. Welcome back to Living in the Past. I'm Dan. It's good to have you here. Abbreviated closing segment here. Again, as I try to cram the rest of the show into much smaller portions and try to fit in the musical breaks. I love including the musical breaks. I know you all enjoy getting those musical breaks, so I do my best to try and fit them in appropriately. Now then, closing out the show, I just wanted to share, there we go, a few thoughts of my outside World of Warcraft gaming habits lately. I've been on a huge retro kick lately. Now, I recommended earlier in the show, towards the beginning, that everyone should go back and play Warcraft 1 and review the manual for it. That's specifically for our next trivia night. Again, coming up February 20th, 3 p.m. Eastern. I believe that's 8 p.m. over in London time. Be ready for Warcraft 1 trivia for it specifically. That is the theme. Before, I didn't hand the theme out, or themes rather. We did two different categories last trivia night. I say last trivia night, but it happened this week. For this one, it's all going to be about Warcraft 1. So be ready for Warcraft 1 trivia coming up here. And there will also again be turtle coins up for grabs if you are the winner of that. So be ready. Also, I've been really delving into some of my older titles. GOG actually did a sale in the first part of January here, and I picked up some serious games that I haven't played in ages over there for dirt cheap. It was very nice. It was very nice to take advantage of. One thing I did a quick review of this week was the Gothic franchise. Hopefully all of you have played at least one of the Gothics. They're fun. They're great RPGs. The Dungeon Keepers, Dungeon Keeper 1 and 2, we do not talk about anything that happened after Dungeon Keeper 2. Nothing happened. There was never a Dungeon Keeper 3. There was never a mobile game. We do not talk about it. Dungeon Keeper 1 and 2, fantastic, stellar titles. Arx Fatalis, speaking of RPGs, actually, really good RPGs, Arx Fatalis, I believe I've talked about it a couple times, but the first, the people who made Dishonored. Arcane, there it is. The first Arcane game I played, and honestly, I feel the best Arcane game that's ever came out. Arx Fatalis, stellar. And it's still super cheap, actually. Theme Hospital. If you're a fan of any of the hospital games, 2 Point Hospital, 2 Point University, that kind of stuff. Theme Hospital, again, I believe from Bullfrog. Bullfrog also made the Dungeon Keeper games. Theme Hospital is where it all came from. And you can see really the bare bones of it happening there. Populous the Beginning is something I've played through multiple times. I'm probably going to do a replay of it this weekend if I have the time. So much fun. I haven't played that one back yet, but it is such a good time. Now, games I'm keeping my eyes open for. I'm looking forward to some good like city builder games. Excuse me, I had to sneeze there. I'm looking forward to some good city builder games. So New Cycle, which just released, and Manor Lords, releasing up in March, late March, I believe. Both of them, really good games I'm looking forward to this year. Resource management is kind of one of my things. You get me playing Lords of Waterdeep, and I'm going to be the happiest camper ever. And one final note. I actually got some time in Dark and Darker with some of the old Pugonomics folks. Playing a ranger, doing those big shooty shoots. Every time I'm able to get a longbow in a dungeon, God, that feels good. Every single time. Feels amazing. But I'm glad that it's continuing to have some really good life. Dark and Darker's fun. It can be a little stressful at times, but it is a good time. Anywho, that's literally all that I believe I've gone over time, actually. We'll see after I put all these segments together, but I'm pretty sure I've gone over time. However, thank you for taking the time today to join me. Our nostalgia continues, even though today's broadcast is at an end, and I hope you enjoyed the show here. A huge thank you to the Turtle developers, moderators, staff, and volunteers. Without the entire team's hard work and dedication, we wouldn't have this station or server group. An additional thank you to the audio engineers and creators here for the use of their soundtracks they've created, which we use for segment transitions and intro audio. If you'd like to find out more about what I do, I invite you to check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/@thedannation and my series Ancient Lore, a recapture of the spirit of my original podcast, The Ancient of Lore. Until next Friday, let's keep living in the past.